Okay, so next is bed number 3, which is going to be my potatoes, which haven't arrived yet, and some of the legumes, which I'm going to show you all the legumes right at the end because they're kind of quite a big bunch. Some calendula and some parsnips. So I'm going to try again with Tender and True, because when they've worked for me in the past, they've worked great. They're a fairly long parsnip generally, decent girth but not huge, but lovely taste. And then of course I've got my lovely Guernsey half-long parsnips to try again this year as well. This is from Paul at Richard and Paul. I've grown Guernsey half-long in the past. I really like them. They're a much shorter parsnip, but they're really kind of quite chunky and fat. So what you lose in the length, you make up for in their width. So good stuff. And I'm sure I've said it before and I'm sure I'll say it again. Parsnip's one of those really tricky seeds where it's generally best to start with fresh seed each year. The seed doesn't really keep very well. Racing through now into bed number 4, which is going to be onions, carrots, flint corn, celery and celeriac. Well, the flint corn, my seed for next year, is above my head. Still haven't taken it home. I need to. The onions, I will start from sets. They haven't arrived yet either. I have occasionally thought about starting from seed, but it's a bit tricky in terms of space and where to do it. I'll have another think on that for next year, but those sets will be coming soon. So in the meantime, in that bed, the celery and celeriac you've already seen, because they're in my packet for starting at home. But with the carrots, I'm going with my good old favourite, Autumn King. You guys have heard me banging on about Autumn King for years now. So my reason for growing Autumn King, okay, well generally I tend to eat carrots in the winter. Excuse me, sorry, hang on a tick. Got a tickle. Yeah, I tend to eat my carrots in the winter, so it's a great winter carrot. And when I have my carrots, generally I'm having them in soups and such like, soups, stews, that sort of thing. So one of the reasons I like Autumn King is they've got a really strong, robust flavour, which stands up really well to being cooked. The other thing, this is a really important note if you're, you know, a smallholder trying to be self-sufficient, whatever it is. One of our big issues with anything we grow is how do we store it? Do we bottle it? Do we freeze it? Have we got space for all of that? Well, the lovely thing about the Autumn King carrot is they store in the ground. So I just leave them where they are and harvest them as and when I need them. So if you've got a small space, say at home, and you like your carrots over winter, I would say definitely give Autumn King a go. They get massive. They sometimes can get a little bit woody, but there's still a load of flavour in that woody bit. It's just the texture isn't so great, but that doesn't matter if you're having them for soups, because you blend it all down. So give them a go. But I was also sent some nunt, which will be, I think they're going to be an earlier carrot for me. So I'll pop some of those in as well, and then I can have those as little kind of carrots either for raw. I do like a carrot stick in hummus. So either raw to nibble on, or maybe just little ones roasted with other veggies. That'd be really nice. So that is bed number 4. Now, the only other things to quickly talk about are my follow-on crop, which is always my brassicas. So I shall be doing again my Cavallo Nero. Now the problem with brassicas for me is that they produce seed in their second year. So quite often you'll see about March, April, as we go into May, any plants that are left in the ground, they will start to blow. In other words, they will start to produce their flowers, and then of course those flowers turn into seed heads, and that's where we get our lovely seed from. But by the time that happens in my garden, oh, just put my hands underneath them and I'm cold. Yeah, by the time that happens in my garden, I have to take the plants out because I need the space to get this year's crops going in. So ideally, if you have a lot of space with your brassicas, you'd have an area for them, so you can just leave them, let them come to seed, gather your seed, and then, but I don't have the room. So I always end up having to buy my brassica seeds. So I'm having, like I say, my kale, that's the Cavallo Nero. I just love it, and I've tried other types of kale here, but that grows so well for me. Why muck around with a good formula? I've got a few seeds left over from last year of my purple sprouting broccoli. This is a winter one, but I've also been given a summer purple sprouting broccoli, so I'm going to have to think about where I can put that in. What I might do you remember I was saying where my peas are going to be? Generally by about July, the mildew will be so bad, I'll whip them all out, and they'll have harvested by then anyway. So perhaps if I get this one going, they could go in there and come. I don't know if that's going to be long enough for them to come to something, but I might give it a go. Oh yes, I've also been sent another type of kale. I'll do 2 or 3 of these. I think with the brassicas, I like to just do a few of everything. But generally speaking, I'm just going through because I've got some repeats here. Generally speaking, it's all dependent on space. So I completely lost my thought then because I was looking through my seeds. So then on to cabbages, I'll do Virtus again, which is a lovely Savoy. Now, oh, hang on before I talk about those. The Calabrese, this is a different one I'm trying this year. So it's an F1, so I'm not going to get seeds from it. All your broccoli is F1. So again, it's another one you have to buy seeds for because you're not going to be able to produce your own. So, rubbish sprouts this year. Again. The last time I tried them was about 3 or 4 years ago, and they were rubbish. But I thought, oh, go on, give them a go, give them a go. So look, I've got some seed left over. Plus, I've been given some from another variety called Red Ball. They look lovely, eh? So, I'm just going to have to try again, aren't I? I don't know at what point to give up. I think the thing is, this year when I do them, sorry, rattle, I'm going to try and find stakes for them. I'll get those leaves whipped off earlier. I'll take on board all the different bits of advice you guys have given me. Thank you. And see if I can get more than a pea from my Brussels sprouts. So we're nearly there. The last thing is another of my favourite things to grow. And again, you can hear the rattling, can't you? I've got masses. Again, as a small holder, or if you're aiming for some level of self-sufficiency, I think beans are a massively important crop to grow. Especially if you're veggie, we're getting protein from them, brilliant. They taste great. They're incredibly versatile, so you can do so many things with them, whether you're doing a burger, whether you're just having them as they are as a soup or as a beanie salad, whether you blitz them into a soup to use them as a thickener but giving you an extra bit of protein. Such a fantastic vegetable, really important to me, both as a veggie and someone who's trying to live just off the land. And of course, what's great about beans is we can grow them up, so they're not taking up too much space. I have got so many beans and peas. So I've got all my own that I've saved, and then you guys, obviously knowing how much I love my beans, have been sending me so many different bean seeds. I'm going to see how much of what I can fit in where. Trust me, you know me, I'm going to try and fit it all in. So starting with the bush beans. My favourite, where are you? This is my, I'll show you this way to the light. That's my Rockenkohl, which is the beautiful little French bean that's yellow, and it's that beautiful waxy yellow bean that I use as a fresh bean. So I eat it, the whole pod, in the summer rather than drying it for the beans over the winter. It's funny, so much of what I grow, I grow it with the aim of storing it. Tomatoes, squash, beans, what have you. So it is nice to grow a few things to be having fresh. Okay, so the rock and core, I'm definitely having those again because I love them. Last year I tried Calypso, which is like the little yin yang bean. They didn't grow very well. I don't know if it was position. I will try again with a few this year. Try again. And then these are all completely new to me. Where I'm going to get them in, I don't know, but I'm going to have a try. This is called Black Canterbury Dwarf. As you can see, these have all been given to me. This is other people's saved seeds. How lovely. And this one has been simply called Drying Beans. It looks to me, can you see that? It looks to me rather like a borlotti. And it does say that it's, what does it say? A dwarf Italian heirloom bush plant. I reckon that's going to be like a borlotti. But again, because it's a bush, not sure where it's going to go. And then finally, a little baggie of cowpeas, or what you might call black-eyed peas. So yeah, really, really, really useful plants to grow. Really useful for us for storing, etc. But because with the bush ones, it's always an issue of space. Now, check out my climbers. Oh my goody goodness. So, I'm having 4 rows again with the arches. In each row, I'll probably have 12 poles. So that's 48. If I get 2 beans per pole, that's 96 plants. 96 divided by... I reckon I might do about 8 of each plant. We'll see. Oh, just before I talk about the beans, in terms of peas, because I am going to have a go again this year, I'm doing some Kelvedon Wonder, which is good old firm favourite Kelvedon Wonder. I love Kelvedon Wonder. They don't get too tall. I love Kelvedon Wonder because it's what my granddad used to grow. And then I have some, this is St Hubert soup pea. I've just made a note on the packet that they can get up to 5 feet tall. So again, not sure where they're going to go. But again, gifted to me. So I'd really like to try and get them in. Now the St Hubert soup pea, as the name suggests, is a pea for drying, for then using in soups during the winter. This, it will depend. If I manage to get a lot of beans in that are beans for drying and I've got no space, the Kelvedon Wonder for eating green and fresh, basically in the garden as I'm gardening. These are my sweeties. Right, that's peas done with. Let's go on to beans. Oh, hang on. No, I haven't quite finished. I haven't quite finished with the peas or pea type things. Chickpeas, obviously, again. So, not quite sure why I had such poor germination last year, but I'm giving them a go again because they are gorgeous. I love them green out of the pods as a snack. I love them dried to dip into in the winter for soups, hummus, what have you. I've got a ton of seed I managed to save from last year, so yeah, we're having a go again. And of course, this is my gorgeous, beautiful Coco de Pampol, my addiction bean. This, I think, along with the Gigante, they're my two favourite beans. Such a beautiful bean. And I know tons of you are trying it this year as well. Yay! Spreading the cocoa love. And I've actually now disseminated this to, oh gosh, I think I've given seed to about 25 people this year. So people are going to have it for the first time, and then they can build up their seed and share it with... Imagine if 25 people share it to 25 other people. I'm not doing the maths, but that's good. Yay! So, my normal bog standard climbers. I've got, oh my goodness, just a few borlotti. If you remember last year, they ended up being a bush variety. And then I had about 2 or 3 that climbed, so that's all the seed I've got. That's my rock and core. I then got some... This is Helder, which is the little sort of flat green pod. It's somewhere between a French bean and a runner bean. But again, that's one of the beans I have as the pod in the summer. It's beautiful, lovely, fresh, zingy taste. No strings. Yay! No strings attached. And then this is my Soissons, which is my little French... It's pretty much... It's like, I was going to say a haricot bean, but haricot is French for bean. Like the kind of beans you make baked beans from. So yum, 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 yum. Great. And then a few of my runners. So this is seed that I was given a couple of years ago by my mum. It's just Scarlet Emperor, bog standard runner bean, but she got it from the Duchy of Cornwall collection. She went to visit, what's his nib's garden called? Highgrove, yeah. She went for a visit to Highgrove and brought me some runner beans. They were in a packet. She didn't nick them off the plants. Wouldn't put it past it though. I seriously would not put it past my mum to be nicking his nibs, his blimmin' beans off his plants. Right, so that's stuff I've always done in the past, and I've also got some gigantes, because if you remember, I accidentally ate my seed stash. I was looking around for some gigantes because I was making fasolada, or I was planning to make fasolada, and I saw a jar of them in the living room, and I was like, what are my gigantes doing there? Anyway, gave them a soak, boiled them up, scoffed them in my fasolada, and then realised that was my seed stock. So anyway, I bought some more this year, so yay! And then new to me this year are... where am I going to get them in? So I've got this one called asparagus bean, which is another climber. Looks like a very sort of long, skinny French bean. That'll be interesting. And then these ones. Now, a certain friend of mine in Canada, if you're watching this, please close your ears and look away now, because she doesn't even like the word I'm about to say. Have you blocked your ears, lovely? This is some beans called rattlesnake beans. Oh my goodness. Now, I believe they're a climber. I've got to have a go with a couple and see, haven't I? But the beans are really quite tiny. You see that? So I'll certainly have a go. Certainly have a go. So I need to do a little bit more research. Is it a bean that you eat whole as a pod? Because if it's beans for drying for saving, that looks like quite a lot of work because they're so tiddly. But we'll give them a go. And then next to last is the beautiful Cherokee Trail of Tears. And as I was mentioning in my video about planning for this whole year, if you don't know the story behind Cherokee Trail of Tears, do have a read. It's incredibly poignant and moving. So they're precious. I shall enjoy planting a few of those. And then finally, I think this is one of my real excitements this year is, now I do know who sent these to me, because partly because I've jotted her name down on my envelope, random envelope I found in the back of my drawer, but because I was so excited about them, her name cemented in my head. So thank you, Belinda. This is the Coco Sophie. I'm sure there's going to be points in this somewhere where I call it Coco de Sophie, because I'm so used to saying Coco de Paimpol. I understand it's very similar to the Coco de Paimpol, so I should love it, but this one is a climber. So imagine if I can get that kind of gorgeous Coco de Paimpol sort of harvest from a quarter of the space, because it's going upwards and I'm getting a beautiful cocoa bean from these. So yay, how exciting. Thing is, oh, where's my gloves? I did come down here wearing gloves, but I can't find them. The fingers are going numb. So, did you stick with that the whole way through? Yay, if you did, you've earned a cup of tea. I did say I was going to try and rattle through them, but I didn't want to go too quickly so you wouldn't get the information. Hopefully that's given you a bit of an idea. Well, obviously it's given you an idea of what I'm actually going to be growing, because I've just told you, but also it's hopefully given you an idea about my rationale for how I choose one plant over another. And you know, as the years go by, a lot of that rationale is purely what grows well for me here and what do I like. But there's always that thing in the back of my mind about it needs to produce for me, and I need to be able to store it. Because frankly, see, it is really pretty chilly. You know, in these winter and early spring months, if I didn't have all of that stored produce, what would I be eating now? Well, I've got a few head of cabbage, I've got some carrots, I've got a bit of celery and celeriac, but that's it. If I was eating purely from the garden, by now, well, I'd probably have lost half a stone. Would that be a good thing? But, you know, I'm not going to get a balanced diet from what's in the garden at the moment. There's very, very, very little protein from the food that's currently in the garden. So I have to grow and always be thinking about storing and how will it store, because the other thing is, the last thing you want is your stored produce to spoil. So, whew, do you know what? It's getting really quite chilly. I think it's just because I'm sitting still. So I'm going to have a little look outside. If it feels like it's dried up a bit, I might go and rake some leaves because that'll warm me up. But if not, if it's really still damp and grotty out there, I might just sack it off for the rest of the day. Go home, make myself some soup, and then, I don't know, probably do some sewing, as in needle and thread sewing, not seed sewing. Not quite yet. I am, I think, 3 weeks off doing my first indoor sewings. There'll only be a couple of things. If I'm 3 weeks off that, then it means I'm 7 weeks off doing my first big sewings of tomatoes, etc. So hang in there, everybody. Just get yourselves distracted by something else. Just don't be trying to go at it too early, especially if you're like me and you don't have a greenhouse. If you start things indoors now, you know, when they're big whopping plants at the end of February, beginning of March, where are you going to put them? Because you can't put them out. It'd be too chilly for them still. Anyway, there we go. Right, before my teeth start chattering, I'm going to say cheerio to you all. I hope whatever you're up to, you are happily occupied doing it. And I hope you're warm and cosy whilst you're being occupied. So I hope I'll see you again really soon. But in the meantime, take care of yourselves and stay warm. Or for those of you in the southern hemisphere, stay cool with your 40 degrees plus and your no rain. I can't even begin to imagine that again at the minute. Right, time for me to scarper.